Hey yo, what up to the Retain gang? It's your boy Bushle. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and please drop down a comment below on what you guys want me to talk about, on more videos that you guys want me to record. And for those who have been clicking on my videos and been watching, I really appreciate the support. I really appreciate it, guys. It really means a lot to me. And yeah, today I just wanted to make a small video to talk about something that I've actually been considering to do more often as the more time I'm retaining, since I've always been someone who's been constantly been depleting my own energy for the last 6 years, since I've been exposed to corn at a really young age, and I've been jerking off. But since I started realizing the potential that comes with retaining your own semen, especially through the studies, the sources, and the research that I've went through. And also since I've been someone who's also went through an awakening, which started more in 2022, and I've been down the rabbit hole. I've been exposed to so many insight, knowledge, and information for the last couple of 3 to 4 years. And I'm also since now I'm on also starting out on semen retention. This is the longest streak I've been. I'm on 50 days right now. I usually used to relapse around 19 days, 20 days within each and every single month whenever I tried retaining. This is the longest streak that I've gone. I'm on day 50 today. And the thing I want to talk about is that I should really start becoming more of a nonchalant person, and I should really become a person who starts being more conservative when it comes to his own time, energy, and attention, especially when it comes to the social spaces that I'm usually in. Because, of course, I've been going to the gym, I've been, being consistent at my own spiritual institution. I've been someone who's been, open whenever it comes to my own social life, when it comes to my own peers, and, I'm a person who's very opening and someone who's very warm whenever it comes to interacting with individuals. But since now I realize that I've been retaining, and I've been using this creative life force energy that comes with retaining my own seed. I've been using it to invest more time into the gym, and investing it into the practices that I've been considering, such as learning new skills on my own economical financial life, such as upgrading myself to the next peak. Because yeah, for the last couple of years I've been simping, no lie. My own relationships with females hasn't been that good, but I'm working on that, I'm improving on that. And my own spirituality are becoming more intuitive as the more time I'm starting to retain. I realize that yeah, my intuitive faculty has opened up. I'm more mentally focused, I'm more mentally sharp, and I'm more mentally single pointed in life. Because I used to be someone who was everywhere on the mental level. I used to really overthink a lot. I really used to be an individual who wasn't more decisive and definite when it comes to his own decisions and choices, and I wasn't really authentic at at who I am at the full expression. And yeah, I wasn't really a grounded person. I was more of an emotional individual lately. I've been an overthinking individual. My mind and my own attention and energy was just scattered everywhere. And now since now I'm retaining, I'm starting to realize a whole lot of things that I should be self-improving on. I should be more of a single pointed individual in life. I should learn to be more grounded and more definite in who I am on the authentic level. And yeah, and I'm realizing that I'm starting to become more nonchalant when it comes to certain things. I'm caring less about the things that do not really matter in life, because I really used to be a person where I really used to care a lot about what individuals were projecting on me, about the type of person I should be in certain spaces. But of course, I'm a talkative person, I'm social, I'm open. But at some point I've been noticing that I've been a people pleasing individual, and I've always been someone who has really cared about what other individuals have always been projecting on me on life. It's even if like at some point I just really knew there's certain decisions and choices and certain things that I should have done much more earlier that I didn't, and I actually realizing that, you know what, since now I'm retaining, I'm gotta, I gotta lock in on the things that really matter in life, because even from a young age, I've always been someone who has always thought differently from the rest of my peers. I've always been someone who has seen things that has not been commonly seen by so many individuals, especially amongst my own friends, as within the social groups that I've been. But at some point, I just kept quiet because, I was afraid of being judged. I was afraid of being, being someone called paranoid, or like maybe I'm always too observant with things that I shouldn't be too observant with. So I'd usually just keep quiet and just do everything else that everyone else was doing. I'd just go with the flow, even if there were moments where I shouldn't go with the flow. And right now, I noticed that, yeah, I'm actually like on the mental level thinking much more differently. In like, you know what, if ever like I'm a person who realizes certain things in life, I really should be more decisive and more definite when it comes to those type of things that I'm usually noticing in life. And yeah, I've been becoming a more grounded individual since I started retaining. Like, I'm not leaking my own time, energy, and attention like bluntly all over the place like I used to. Like now, ever since I started retaining, ever since I started conserving this energy and I started using it towards like things that really matter in life, I could definitely see a whole new peak, that where my life is definitely gonna be much more differently than it has been for the last couple 3 to 4 years. And things have been confusing since, I've went through my awakening. I've been going through shadow work. I've been doing the inner work. I've been self-reflecting, meditating, journaling. But I definitely feel like there was like a puzzle that was missing, because even if I was exposed to the right spiritual concept, to the right spiritual teachings and revelations from my own spiritual guide, His Royal Majesty Inkosi Amakhosi Bomoya Babuzilezwe Imboni, even if his teachings did really assisted me, to know who I am at some point, but I really had this thing where I felt like on the internal level there was something missing. There was something that I wasn't really doing right. So that's when, like whenever I started discovering about semen retention, I started discovering about the power of retaining and conserving this, like, creative life force within me, and like I shouldn't just let it leak all over the place. I shouldn't, like, be using my own time, energy, and attention, projecting it into things that are really draining me in life. And like, yeah, there's a lot that has been happening for the last 3 to 4 years, but I realize now, since I'm starting to retain, like, this feels like a whole different peak that I'm going into in my life right now. And yeah, like, there's a lot that's happening, chat. I just don't want to lie. Like, there's a really a whole lot of things that I'm noticing since now I'm starting to retain. And I notice like things are just in a moment of flow, like things are just flowing out the way they're supposed to be. And like, I noticed that I'm starting to embody the version of who I meant to embody much more sooner in life. Like, I'm actually becoming the version that I've always was meant to become at some point. Because yeah, Chet, I really like used to put myself in so many spaces where I just knew that I shouldn't be in. I really like used to be an individual where I do certain habits and certain lifestyle choices where I just knew that like they were not aligned with me. But since, like, you're a person who grows up in Soweto, and you someone grows up in this type of neighborhoods where you just really don't question certain things in life. You grow up just doing what everyone else was doing. But the moment like you come to a realization that, okay, 90% of what like my peers are doing is actually just what the matrix has indoctrinated and programmed into their minds, and they're not really conscious and aware of what they're really doing, because they're just following the trends, they're just following the social norms and the cultural conditioning of what the society has put it onto them, especially the matrix, especially when it comes to the entertainment industry, when it comes to the music industry, especially when also it comes to the confusion that's also on social media. And whenever now I started seeing beyond like the distortions, whenever I start seeing through the illusions, now I'm starting to realize that okay, there's a whole lot of things that my peers are actually doing, and that they themselves are not really even aware of what they are really doing. They themselves are not really conscious of what they're actually putting themselves into. And like, even I myself, since my awakening started happening in 2022, like there's a lot of things that I came to realize that 90% of what we've accepted as reality, as life, is really actually all a lie. And at some point on the mental, psychological level, like it broke me in a way that it was really hard to actually find myself, as much as I was a confused person growing up, especially the fact that I came to discover that I'm actually an impaired. I'm someone who actually mirrors certain subconscious thoughts and behaviors without really consciously doing it. These are just things that I just came to realize that okay, I am an impaired. I mirror people's subconscious thoughts and behaviors and emotions without really doing it, because I'm also a Virgo on top of that. So, and I'm someone who has always, seen things and thought differently from the collective, but I really never understood what it really was until my awakening happened. You know, it brought a whole lot of confusion. It brought a whole lot of, mental, emotional, psychological warfare, where I started facing my own shadows, where I started facing my own egos, where I started have to navigate myself into understanding who I really am and what do I really like live for, and what is the purpose of everything that I've done till this point in life. And like, even having to challenge the things that my mom and dad grow up accepting, things that society grow up accepting, like things that was just considered normal for the collective. But whenever, like, like your third eye starts opening up, your perception and awareness and like your level of perceiving things starts being at a much more high wavelength, you realize good, okay, almost everything in life is a lie. And even like so many things that also have to do with sexuality, you also realize that okay, your sexual energy is actually your creative energy. It is actually the driving force behind almost each and every single thing that you do in life. It is what drives you to wake up in the morning, to chase after the things that you chase after in life. It is like the driving force that makes you, like seek out the desires that you seek out in life, and why, like you intend to create the things that you intend to create within your own life, when it comes to your own thoughts, when it comes to your own actions and your own habits. Apparently, sexual energy itself has so many things that it does on the social scale, on like the individual scale, on like an individual's life. Majority of the things that happen in life was so unaware of that sexuality has something to do with it, especially when it comes to sexual energy, when it comes to this creative intelligence that most men have been programmed and indoctrinated to chase after lust, who have been programmed and indoctrinated to chase after females, to chase after, their own animalistic instinct, their desires and pleasures, and just to spill this seed, spill this sexual energy, this creative life force anyhow, by constantly chasing after girls, by constantly chasing after S3X, by constantly watching porn, by constantly drinking alcohol, smoking weed, smoking hardly, doing majority of the things that the matrix usually puts within the social spaces, within the social norms, to actually make men to become more feminine, to make men become more weak, to make more men, like to be in their most vulnerable state. Yeah, and like to be more into the feminine polarity, because as a man, if ever you're constantly leaking out your own seed, you're constantly leaking out your own seminal fluid, whenever you're constantly leaking out this creative life force that can be used to procreate a child, but you're constantly leaking it in ways that you are not consciously aware of how you're leaking it. It actually like has a detrimental effect it has on you. Like it increases estrogen, it increases prolactin, it makes you more feminine, it makes you less creative in life, it makes you have less sex drive, because sex drive is what actually drives you as a man to do the things that you do, into like, you know, attacking life, into facing the things that you have to face, into becoming more of like the masculine assertive type. Whenever you're someone who's leaking this energy, especially as a male, it does definitely has a detrimental effect that it does on you. And most men nowadays, like, lust is definitely something that has been enslaving men nowadays. Like, instant gratification is something that has been commonly promoted amongst modern day men. This is something like that is usually promoted for men to become more lustful, for men to expel their own seed, to expel their own creative life force, to expel this seminal essence that is actually used to create a child. Even also that can has the ability to illuminate your own third eye, your own pineal gland, whenever you retain and transmute and refine this sexual energy into its highest energetic potential, into its highest energetic form. Like, there's so many things that I came to realize, and I just wanted to record this video to say, like, now since like I'm recording these videos, I'm retaining, I'm currently on day 50, there's a whole lot of things that I realized that I have to spread so much awareness about, so much things that I have to start speaking out. As the more time I spend, you know, on semen retention, the more time I spend on retaining and alchemizing and transmuting this creative life force within me. And like, I realize even my own testosterone is becoming like much more revived, because I was more into the feminine polarity like for so long in my life, and since now I'm retaining, I realize like a sense of my own masculinity is becoming much more restored. It's like that masculine polarity is like now bringing itself out into my life, because yeah, the fact that I'm a Virgo, you now probably get, you know, when someone is Virgo, you can see from the horoscope symbol, it shows a feminine entity. And not to mention someone who's constantly depleting his own creative life force, his own sexual energy, especially as a man. Whenever, you know, you're leaking out this energy, your testosterone drops, and it makes things much more worse if ever you're someone who's a Virgo, because it's more likely possible that the feminine polarity is part of your own nature. So I realize even my own testosterone and my own masculine side now is becoming much more revived. And even if, you know, like on the female dynamics, I do notice a couple of changes when it comes to the female dynamics in my own life, but I won't really go depth into that, because that's not really the point why I got into semen retention. But yeah, fam, there's a whole lot of things I can just like spend an entire hour recording and talking about when it comes to like semen retention benefits that I've been gaining, and how it's making me see through all of these things that are happening within the world and society, and where I should actually use my own time, energy, and attention to. And I really think I should become more nonchalant to who I'm actually giving my own energy to, because I realize the more this energy is surging through me, the more I feel like I could just attack life, the more I feel like I could just go out into the world and create the things that I know that I should be creating for my own life. And I realize that there are people who do not really deserve this surge of energy that is literally circulating throughout my entire being since I started retaining. So I really think I should start becoming more nonchalant, not like for the purpose of, you know, feeding my own ego, not for the purpose of, you know, like feeding like my own sense of pride, or like becoming much more of a person who wants to gain clout by acting more nonchalant. But this is just something that I'm realizing that, okay, not everyone is really on my side, and I'm starting to see beyond like the lenses of so many individuals who are literally like projecting their own fakeness towards me. So I realized that, you know what, let me just, be more nonchalant. Let me just be more self-centered towards my own passions, towards my own goals, towards creating the things that I'm willing to create. And yeah, but as the more time I'm gonna also spend, recording these videos, I'm gonna try to improve more and more, the way like I express myself through these videos. I'm gonna get better at my craft as the more time I'm gonna be doing these videos, and the more time I'm just gonna let you know like what more valuable insight, knowledge and information experiences that I've had before and after I started retaining. And yeah, if ever you also need a couple of advices on like how to maximize your streaks as the more time you spend on retention, because I'm currently on day 50 right now. I'm fighting to reach day 90, and I definitely know I'm gonna do whatever it takes to reach my peak. So to those who've reached this far, I really appreciate it. Please like, share and subscribe to the channel, and please drop down a comment below on what you guys want me to talk about on the next upcoming videos, and see ya.